All right, let's talk about one of the most legendary and, let's be honest, ugliest airplanes ever built, the A-10 Warthog. It's basically a gun with some wings bolted onto it, and this whole thing, this entire iconic aircraft, it all really starts with a sound.
Yeah, that sound. If you've spent any time online, you've heard it. It's the unmistakable brrr of the JAU-8 Avenger cannon. And this isn't just some gun they stuck on a plane. No, this 7-barrel Gatling gun is the absolute core of the A-10. I mean, it's become a meme, a legend. But you know, for the soldiers on the ground, it's probably the best sound they could ever hope to hear.
So, what's making that noise? Well, it's this thing firing 30mm shells. We're talking big, armor-piercing shells at a rate of almost 70 rounds every single second. That is just insane. And get this, the recoil from the cannon is so powerful, it actually produces about the same amount of thrust as one of the plane's engines. So when the pilot pulls the trigger, the plane literally slows down in midair. Which, yeah, that leads to a pretty obvious question.
Seriously, why would you do that? It's completely backwards, isn't it? You're supposed to design a plane and then attach weapons to it. But not the A-10. This thing was built for the gun. The entire airframe is just a delivery system for that cannon. To figure out why anyone would make such a wild engineering choice, we've got to travel back in time to a war that, thank goodness, never actually kicked off.
Okay, so let's talk about the Fulda Gap problem. This was the Cold War battleground that, thankfully, never was. To get why the A-10 exists, you have to understand the very specific fear that created it. The fear of a massive land war in Europe.
So, picture this. It's the 1970s. The Cold War is at its peak. NATO strategists are looking at the map and they're sweating over one particular spot, the Fulda Gap in Germany. It was basically a highway for tanks, the most likely route for a massive Soviet invasion of Western Europe, and we're talking thousands upon thousands of tanks. So the problem was clear. How do you stop a tidal wave of Soviet armor? You need a plane that can get down in the muck, fly low and slow, and just chew through those tank columns. You need a purpose-built tank killer.
And that job has a name, Close Air Support, or CAS. The word you really got to focus on there is close. This isn't about dropping bombs from 30,000 feet. This is about getting down low, right in the thick of it, sometimes just a few hundred feet from your own guys, and laying down fire on the enemy. It's messy, it's dangerous, and this one mission, CAS, is the reason the A-10 is designed the way it is.
So the Air Force put out a shopping list, and it was pretty demanding. They said, okay, we need something that kills tanks, period. It has to be able to get shot to pieces and still fly home. Oh, and it needs to take off from a muddy field if it has to. And this is a big one, it's got to be simple and cheap, because if World War III starts, we're going to need a lot of them, fast. It was all about quantity.
Which brings us to the absolute genius of how this thing was engineered for survival. I mean, how do you build a plane that just refuses to die? Every single part of the A-10 is an answer to one question. How do we keep this thing in the air while it's getting shot at from all sides? There are legendary stories of these planes making it back to base with holes you could climb through. It's incredible. Let's break down how they did it.
All right, first things first, protect the pilot, right? The plane can be a wreck, but if the pilot is okay, they might just get it home. So the designers built what's basically a bathtub made of titanium armor and put the pilot's seat inside it. This titanium tub can stop some seriously heavy rounds, up to 23mm cannon shells. It's like putting the pilot in their own personal tank.
And a whole philosophy of the plane is redundancy, 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 especially for the flight controls. Okay, so imagine you're the pilot. You take a hit and boom, you lose one of your hydraulic systems. No big deal, right? The second one kicks in. But what if you take another hit and you lose both hydraulic systems? In almost any other jet, you're ejecting, but not in the A-10. You flip a switch to a manual reversion system, a literal set of steel cables, and now you are physically wrestling the plane through the air. It takes brute force, but it can be done. You can fly it home.
And that thinking is just everywhere you look on the plane. The engines, they're mounted high up and far apart so one lucky shot can't take out both. Plus, the twin tails help hide their heat from missiles. The fuel tanks, they're self-sealing and filled with foam to stop explosions. Even the landing gear is brilliant. If it gets stuck and won't come down, the wheels still poke out of the fuselage just enough so the pilot can do a belly landing with way less damage. They thought of everything.
But being tough is only half the job, right? You also have to be able to kill tanks. And that comes down to the ammunition. The GAU-8 doesn't fire just any old bullets. The rounds have a core made of depleted uranium. Now, just look at the density here. It's almost twice as dense as lead.
That means it hits with an unbelievable amount of force, just punching right through thick armor. And it gets crazier. It's pyrophoric, so it bursts into flame on impact, and it actually gets sharper as it tears through steel. Just absolutely brutal.
So the Cold War ended without that big tank battle ever happening, but the A-10 is still around, and that's created a huge debate in military circles today, especially now that we have planes like the F-35. It's really a fight between two totally different ways of thinking about air power. I like to think of it as Rocky versus Muhammad Ali.
This analogy just nails it. The A-10, that's Rocky Balboa. It's a brawler. It wades into the fight, it can take a beating right to the face and keep on coming, protecting the guys on the ground. The F-35, that's Muhammad Ali. It floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. It uses stealth and speed to hit the enemy from miles away, from angles they never even knew were there. It's a finesse fighter. They're both champions, just in completely different weight classes and with totally different fighting styles.
But if you ask the infantry, the men and women on the ground, there is no debate, not even a little one. And this quote, wow, it just says it all. For them, seeing an A-10 show up when they're in trouble is like seeing Gandalf ride in at Helm's Deep. It's not just air support, it's hope. That sound, that brr, rrt, means the cavalry has arrived. There's a special bond there that you just can't measure on a spreadsheet.
Now, a common argument you'll hear is that, hey, modern jets can carry just as many bombs, and if you look at the numbers, yeah, that's kind of true. An F-35 can technically haul more. But here's the thing, when you hang all that stuff under the wings of a stealth fighter, you've just thrown away its biggest advantage. It's stealth. You've also made it less nimble. The A-10, on the other hand, was born to be a flying dump truck. It was designed from day one to carry a huge arsenal low and slow, right into the heart of the battle.
And here's the ultimate irony of the A-10 story. It was a plane built for a specific war against the Soviet Union, a war that never came, but it ended up being the absolute perfect tool for the wars that did happen, in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. The conditions on the ground there, lots of enemy ground fire but not much of an air threat, were almost exactly what it had been designed to handle all along.
So that brings us to the big question today. In an age of stealth jets, drones, and cyber warfare, in a world where the F-35 is designed to be an invisible, flying supercomputer, is there still a place for a flying tank? I mean, when soldiers are in a firefight, pinned down, and they need help right now, is there anything else that can do what the Warthog does? That's the question that pilots, generals, and politicians are still wrestling with.